Let's talk about modders versus players. Now, this is going to be a hard one to swallow for players who with a sense of entitlement, but I'm afraid I'm going to force this one down your throat anyway because somebody needs to say it. Now, we're going to start with an example, right? So you can actually see what page we're on here. Imagine a newbie modder makes a mod. It gets 10,000 downloads. This is an example I've given before. 10%, 1 in 10, take issue and get angry at the modder for it. That's 1,000 people attacking an individual online. 1,000 people attacking, making his life hell, right? So 1,000 people, 1 in 10, make that person's life hell, where 9 out of 10 are happy. Right? Now, this is why you can't get angry at a modder, because that there is literally harassment. It is also dangerous. Because that person those 9 out of 10 might be arguing over something minor. Might not be even something, might be a colour of a shirt on an NPC or a piece of dialogue they didn't like or a voice actor's accent they didn't like. Right? And they make the person's life hell over it because of, in their opinion, and it's an opinion, that wasn't too good. So that person has to suffer constant abuse from the 1,000 players who all get together and talk to each other and make sure it gets worse for him. And I know that from personal experience, all because of some minor issue. Now, this is why, right, most modders quit. That right there, that is it, right? So players don't understand that mob mentality drives away more modders. It's why they have less mods. It's why the good mods don't seem to appear as often these days. It's why, in a way, because I quit because of website issues, getting hosts. But it's why I went private with my mods, why I stopped sharing them publicly. It's why a whole community got denied my mods, why many of them haven't even heard of Return to Helgen until 10 years later. Well, not 10, it'd be 8 years later. Because I went private and I stopped advertising it. I didn't tell people about it because I was sick of that kind of nonsense. So it affects you players. You players can take that attitude if you want, but then them mods are going to get made and you're never going to know it, right? And this is the whole point. Players some players anyway, not all players. Some players have a sense of entitlement. We're entitled to those mods. We download your mods, so you must be thankful that we're giving you abuse because we've downloaded your mod. That's not how it works. In the real world, this is the way people need to judge it. If you behave that way in the real world, what would happen? I mean, if you say, well, we're on the internet so we can get away with it, then you're a keyboard warrior. It's as simple as that. You're deliberately being abusive because you think you can get away with it. Only the laws have changed now. Since I started modding Oblivion in 2006, the laws are vastly different. You can be arrested and charged and jailed now. And people are arrested, charged and jailed now, all the time. I mean, you're just going to put the wrong post on Twitter and the police will knock on your door. So, but yeah, you get the idea, don't you? Now, speaking from my perspective as a modder, what I liked was that calm adult conversation I used to have with players. I used to get a lot from it when people said, the mod's great, but this bit here, it's a bit crap in it. That bit there, he says, I don't like the accent, the dialogue's a bit corny. And I'm thinking, well, that is your opinion. And then I'll sit there and I'll think about it and I'll think, yeah, it's probably right. And then I'll go and change it. Or I will make changes to it. I mean, there's plenty of dialogue in my mods I would love to change, swap out with better voice actors, but I just don't know any better voice actors. But I mean, given the opportunity to go back and replace the voice lines on all of them, I would. If I had a team of talented voice actors to do it with me, I would go back and do it. So, because let's face it, right, the thing holding my mods back is the voice acting, because it was done by players. We all had fun doing it, but they weren't professionals, and only 1 or 2 of them pulled off that level of professionalism that actually made it sound good. I mean, their dialogues had keep, but you get the idea. But yeah, that calm adult conversation is what modders are looking for, right? So if the player wants to have his say and then be listened to and not cause the modder to just leave and not make any more mods, you have to be adult about these things. You have to be calm. You have to check your anger at the door, because a mod, like I said in the mental health video, should not be making you angry. If you're getting angry at a mod, you need to stop playing the games. You need to back off from computers and PC games and stuff like that. And I know the people that get angry and feel entitled don't have the willpower to do that. They're like the smoker that wants to give up but can't. The heroin addict that thinks he can control his habit but still needs the next fix. Right? That's what they're like. That's the position they're in. It's incredibly difficult to step away from an addiction, and they're addicted. They're addicted to the game. They're addicted to things. This is why they've got that problem, why they get angry at stupid things. I know that. I've been there. It takes a great deal of strength to overcome an addiction. So anybody that manages it is worthy of respect. Because to go from being in that position to being clearly able to control your life again, that takes some real willpower. Now, anyway, if you're going to, where we say, deal with modders, right? And a lot of modders these days don't even post on forums. They'll avoid contact with players for the very reasons I'm explaining in this video. But if you want to contact with players, modders, you could do a great deal of good for giving him honest feedback. I'm not talking about ass-kissing feedback. That is useless feedback in my book, and I hated it. Right? It says, I like honest feedback. If it's good, it's good. Put this way, if a mod is getting, say, 8 out of 10, then 8 out of 10 posts should reflect that, shouldn't they? 8 out of 10 comments about the mod should be good comments, and 2 out of 10 should be bad. Because 8 out of 10 stars reflects, what people think of it. So the comments should be a reflection of the score. But usually what happens is 8 out of 10 comments are bad and only 2 are good. It's the opposite. So they're not a reflection of the score, which is how I know the feedback is wrong. Because if the feedback doesn't match the score given, then the feedback is deliberately negative. And if it's deliberately negative, then it's not balanced. And if it's not balanced, it gets ignored. And that's the way I work. Because I understand, right, if someone's giving like gushing reports all the time, because even at an individual level, you can work the same role. You say you love my mods, and 10 out of 10 comments you leave are good. That means you're not being realistic, because there's at least two or three things that you should be mentioning that aren't good, right? So you get ignored. If you do 10 out of 10 are bad, again, you can be ignored because you've got nothing good to say. Anybody who doesn't have anything good to say is being unfair, because everything's got something worth mentioning that's good, especially if you're getting 8 out of 10 in the scores. I mean, my mods, I think I won the Nexus Mod of the Month 13 times in a row. I think it's 13 times in a row. Basically, I started, no, was it? I can't remember, but a lot of times. Some people said the mods were crap, so I made a point. Me and my fans made a point, and we won the Mod of the Month every single month, just to sort of ram it down their throats as a way of saying you're wrong. And then eventually I just stopped using Nexus because the trouble didn't stop. But I did everything I could to fight back against the mentality that players should be angry at mod makers because they don't like the colour of an NPC shirt, because it was always pathetic. But anyway, the point is, there is a way of dealing with modders, and there's a way of modders dealing with players. And the only way it works, the only way it achieves anything, is when it's mutual respect. That means the player isn't mad at the modder, and the modder respects the player's opinion. And that only works if both sides are being fair. And if it does work, if you do achieve that, like I used to do on the Engineering Guild, on Respawn and on Mechstorm, then the resulting product, the resulting mod is just a lot better. It gets better. So if you want a better mod, show some respect to the modder, have him show some respect to you, have that two-way dialogue about what's wrong and what's right. Because it's important to know what's right. Because if you're saying that's wrong, you basically say, well, the modder's thinking, well, what is right? If I do this, will that be wrong as well? If I do that, is that wrong? Because you haven't given me any examples of what you consider to be right, so everything's wrong. I dare do anything. I'm scared of doing anything. I'm not releasing any more mods. You get the idea, right? You've got to give some examples of what you like so the player knows what page you're on, not the modder knows what page you're on. But you have that two-way dialogue going. It can only be a good thing for the mod in the end. But players do need to realise that a modder can make the mod and never release it to them. He can make the mod and release it privately just to his friends. He doesn't have to include them in the whole modding scene. So players really don't have a leg to stand on if they decide to be rude and nasty and the modder decides to go private like I did. Because quite frankly, the modder didn't sign up for that shit. He just made a mod and decided to share something cool with you, and you got angry. That's the way he sees it. So players need to step back, and if you do see players getting angry with mod makers, understand they've got a mental health issue. They're the type of people I'm talking about in my mental health videos for gamers. They really need to consider stop playing games, or at least backing off from the online activities. Because if they can't control themselves, then they've got issues. Anyway, just remember what I said, right? The best way mods are developed is through mutual adult conversations between the player and the mod maker about what's good and bad in a mod, right? You need that balance. That balance is important. If you achieve that, then any community is going to be much better. The mods in it are going to be better. The right encouragement is going to be there for the modder to improve things. He's not going to get defensive. He's not going to get angry. He's not going to quit. He's not going to mod privately. He's going to talk back to you and ask you what you feel about this idea, what you feel about that idea. The communication is going to exist, and that there is a very special thing when it happens. Now, if you watch this far into the video, you now know my full opinion on this, and hopefully, in the future when we do start modding, you will know what I'm aiming for, because that two-way communication is very, very important. See you in the next one.